on the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Truck Month is back. We have absolutely gigantic savings right now at Koppel. They are offering $12,500 off on select new pickups. That is not a mistake. You heard right. $12,500 off list price right now on select new pickups. Those discounted units, though, will not last long. These are all manager specials. You have to come in now, so hurry in down 144th Street or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. Stock number G356093 must trade.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Play ball!
Summertime is here, and so is another action-packed baseball season with the Lincoln Salt Dogs. Bring your whole crew to Haymarket Park to experience the magic under the lights and the thrill of the game. Enjoy daily specials like Wiener Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Fireworks Friday, and Family Fun Day Sunday, plus special events and discounts. Don't miss out on the excitement.
Strike three, you're out!
Visit saltdogs.com to see this week's promotions and secure your tickets to unleash the fun.
Happy hour.
Sipple and I walked by the offensive line. Sipple made a comment, man, you just think that like the opportunity at generational wealth would make you want to get out there. And I thought about that with a lot of these guys, whether it's mentality purposes or their willingness to get their body right, compete. Just overall, off the field, off the court, in the classroom, it's a competition. I mean, you've heard the quote, if you're not working, there's somebody else who is working.
Weekdays from 1 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Chancellor Brewington.
Welcome back in to Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. As always, we got the host, Chancellor Brewington, former Husker tight end, to my left. Chancellor, how's it going on a pretty nice Thursday night so far?
Last one of the week, at least for the show. No, it's going fantastic. I hope everyone out there listening. Are we on the airways tonight?
Yeah, no Royals.
Oh, we're on the airways. I hope everyone driving on O Street or wherever you're driving is having a wonderful day. I hope you're having a blessed day. If it's not blessed, then bless it yourself. But yeah, no, everything's going good. We're what, 9 days away?
Yeah, 9.
9 days away. 9 days away. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. I'm stoked for the season. There's gonna be some great things that happen this year, and you know, I'll go a quick little Nebraska rant to start off. Right.
All right.
My personal take has evolved. I believe as I'm watching this team and I'm realizing the talent on this team, I don't think Dylan Riley I'm starting off hot, Harrison. I don't think Dylan Riley needs to play at an extremely high clip for this team to hit that 7-win mark. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think if he plays good, they might get to 8 wins. If he plays great, they might get to 10 wins. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid now.
Okay, you're not drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm not.
We got 5 wins last year. Think about the quarterback play. And we still managed to get 5. Had a few games where we realistically could have won 8.
Right.
Because there were 3 points or less. Or not less. 3 points or 7 at the most. In 3 of those games. I don't think it's crazy. He literally has to play average. And average college football quarterback and you damn well better get 6. Because I think that the defense is probably the one thing we worry the least about. Maybe you can talk about the cornerback room, but I think you feel pretty good there. Maybe just in terms of depth. Offense, Jamal Banks seems like he's that guy. Tight end room looks good. Left tackle, you're still unsure about their offensive room. When it comes to running backs, you feel strong. I think there's just not a lot of weak points anymore outside of maybe the offensive line.
Maybe that left tackle position, little question mark there. Got a young guard, seasoned center, new right guard, returning right tackle. Bryce played really good football last year. Took his game to a whole new level. So that really just that left tackle. And I would say the other question mark would be the consistency of the receiver play, and who's going to be the dog in the running back room. But not to get too far, we'll hop into it because now it'd be wrong not to talk about Husker every day up until then. And you guys don't get me tomorrow, so this will be my last day of the week. But to start off each show, we do quarter century wisdom. If you're new here, we do quarter century wisdom because I'm 25 years old as of August 19th, a few days ago. I believe that was on Monday. And so I kind of just spread what I process throughout the week, what I learn. I read a lot of books. I watch a lot of things. I try to learn as much as possible. I try to be as curious as possible as well. And one thing I saw a thing I thought was pretty interesting. I figured I would share it on here. So there's a man walking the beach, right? And he just moved to the certain location. And so he's walking and he sees a person and he says, "Hey, I have a question for you. What type of people live here?" And so he says, "Oh, there's the people are great. Like the people are just fantastic, right?" And he's like, "Oh, wow, okay." And then so he keeps walking on the same beach, a couple of people later. And he asks another person, "What type of people live here? I just moved here." And he's like, "Oh, the people here are terrible. People here are terrible. They lie, they steal. They're not honest people, whatever, right?" So the moral of the story, the principle of the story is who you are, that and how you see yourself. It's a reflection of how you see the world. Right? So if you have a view of yourself that like you just can't lose and life is great and everything works for you, works for your good, then you're going to see life that way and the people you run into, right? You're going to attract those things. But if you're
two-faced,
just a rotten person, that's what you're going to get. And I'm sure there's certain scenarios where you're going to run into some bad people. I'm not saying that. But for the most part, the principle and the moral of the story is that who you are, you attract that. It's the law of attraction. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
That makes sense, though. Because I think we've all had days where you're just a little surly for whatever reason. Like something rolled off the wrong way that morning and you're just kind of upset. Maybe you're just more quiet. Like people notice pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
And they're typically not in a better mood as a result of it.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend here recently and we're just chopping it up and I asked him, I said, I told him this. I said, "Well, I know what type of day you're having based on the language and the vocab you use." And so he's like, "What type of day am I having?" And I was like, "A really bad one."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Why?" "Because I asked you how you're doing and you were just like, 'Oh, I'm fine.'" And then the mood of the conversation, we're talking about a particular subject, and it was almost like the mountain seemed a lot bigger that day than it actually really is. Or maybe not than it actually really is than it was the day before. And so as we're processing it, I'm like, "Oh, he's having a rough day." And I can just tell because the day before he was just saying, "Oh man, I'm just so excited." Da, 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 da. And then the vocab change, I'm like, "Oh, you're having a rough day, huh?" And then he's like, "Ah, yeah, how'd you know?" Well, the way you're talking about the particular situation. And I think we always need that person around us. I call it a Rafiki. Have you seen Lion King? Okay.
I've seen like bits and pieces.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I know what it is.
So Lion King's young Simba, right? His dad Mufasa, right?
Yep.
So he's kind of age, right? And he leaves home and he's like growing up in the jungle and all that, all that good stuff. Hakuna Matata, like all that good stuff. Yeah. So then all of a sudden he's like walking, he's having a rough day, and there's a baboon called Rafiki, and he's like, mumbling some stuff. And young Simba says to Rafiki, he says, "Who are you? Like, who even are you, monkey?" And Rafiki says, "The question is, who are you?" And so it's this idea that you need someone in your life to recognize who you are, know who you are, and bring it out of you. Because then he shows Rafiki takes Simba to a place and shows him that Mufasa is living inside of him. It's the most Kingdom movie I've ever. It's the most. Oh, it's so powerful. That movie's anointed. But anyways, he shows Rafiki. I mean, Rafiki shows Simba who he is and all the things, that are inside of him and the power that he has and all that good stuff. And then it transcends his life. So I guess the moral of the story is everyone needs a Rafiki, whether you think you need one or you think you don't need one. You need a Rafiki in your life to tell you and show you who you are.
Yeah. Call out your BS too.
Yeah.
That's important. You gotta have people in your life that are honest with you.
Whew.
I think that's where you get some of the most evil people in the world. They got just pure yes men around them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just do some crazy acts. I don't even want to dive into it, but we've had so many of these celebrities these days get in trouble for all sorts of things. But
I know that's right.
Yeah. Let's see. We got about 10 minutes left here on this segment.
Yes, sir. So I saw something interesting. Tua Tagovailoa, right? He was on a podcast, and so he alluded to this. I'm gonna say he alluded to this based on the context and the pretext of the conversation. He basically said that Brian Flores treated him very terribly, right? And told him how inadequate he was and that he wasn't a good player and that there was better players that work better in the system. And then, of course, Mike McDaniel come in and he's telling Tua that, he's great. He's doing all these things perfect, not perfect, but he's the perfect quarterback for the system. He has the right arm strength. He has the right accuracy. He's the perfect fit for the team and for the offense, right? So this circulates, of course, anything you put on the internet as an NFL player, especially if you're Tua, is going to circulate, right? It got hold of the media, of course, and Brian Flores now once was the Dolphins head coach. Now he's the Vikings DC. He went and got asked during the media about this, and he neither confirmed nor denied this situation, but he said, I've evolved a lot as a coach.
Yeah.
My question is, where does that even come from? Why do coaches coach like that?
Do you think there's some guys that need that though? Like they need to be humbled? And maybe he made that mistake thinking Tua is one of those guys that if we're going to get the best version out of him, we got to almost degrade him.
I guess the word humble needs to be defined then. Because first of all, if I don't know Tua, but I know people who know him personally. I don't think this kid needs any more humbling.
He seems like a nice kid.
Right.
Like all of his I don't know him personally, but everything he does with the media seems like approachable, nice, always pretty generous with the media.
That's what I'm saying though, is like at what point do coaches understand that their words really hurt players? And Tua even said in the interview that there's other players, key players on the team, that this has still affected them mentally, and they have to rewire the way it was while Brian Flores was head coach. I saw this and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why would a coach think that mental state, right, of a player being stressed out, of a player feeling inadequate, incapable of leading a team, especially the nucleus, the heart and soul of your team, which is your quarterback, especially in the NFL, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That doesn't make sense to me. Because the next couple of years, you look at Tua's game, it took off.
Yeah.
Right. And now hearing this, having some context, I'm like, I wonder if it's because, he's under this Mike McDaniel system, not only system, but culture where he lets you be yourself. He lets you come into the building as yourself. He's more of a, kind of a numbers guy, but still allows a great environment for the team to flourish. Right. I've heard some, hey, listen, Harrison, we'll talk off air. I've heard some crazy stories of what happens in training camp and some of these meetings with Mike McDaniel. I'll just say it like this. He lets the players be themselves, and he lets
McDaniels is open about what he was in his past. Like, McDaniels, that guy, he's seen the worst of it.
Oh yeah,
and you best believe that.
Oh
like,
yeah,
his story. He's an interesting guy to read up on.
Yeah,
he's been through some stuff.
Nah, for sure. But just staying on the NFL.
Well, real quick, I'll add my 2 cents to Flores. Like, do you think? Because I know coaches like this in the past, and to me, it's like never bothered me because maybe I am too much of a gentle soul. But like some people just want to make you mad. Like get something out of you emotionally. Like,
right.
I'll prove you wrong. Like shut up. I don't want to hear it. Like I'm not gonna take this anymore. because I'm going to go and prove it right now that you can't talk to me anymore through my play. So like, do you think maybe that was the hope? Like, I'm going to drive this emotion out of them to get them to respond in a way that, yeah, maybe it's at the time seems divisive, but in the long run, you come together as a result.
Okay, I'll answer that in a story. I had my tight end coach while I was here was Sean Beckton, right? I think he was the best tight end coach in the nation. I think he's everything I know about football, like really everything I know. Like people, I'm doing the D&D or I'm about to change the name of it, but the YouTube channel of just like, and we'll talk some X's and O's. Everything I learned is really from him. I took very thorough notes under him. I just kind of just saying he's a great coach, but the way he coached was interesting, I should say, right? He was very hard. There was no slacking. There was a consistency. There was a standard. There was never a time where you could, just kind of float through a meeting, not even a meeting, a walkthrough. Everything was detailed from your footwork to your eyes to your hands to from pre-practice to your stretching to your condition. Everything was detailed, right? And the standard of the tight end room was higher than the standard of the offense, right? Because that's how he ran his room.
That checks out. That tight end room was solid.
Right. Consistently. And so one of the things that he did was that he was a very hard coach, like I said, but there was certain people that he couldn't coach the same way. I'll put in a story. There was we were playing Rutgers, right? And pre-scouting report, Powell, one of the Taylor Powell or
for Rutgers?
Yeah. Number 17, I believe. Powell, he's like 6'5", 6'4", like 250, right? The other backer, number 22, he was like 6'4", 252. So on the scout report, they're pretty big. At the time, I'm like 220, 218, right? And so this is how Coach Beck would talk to me personally. He would say like, I don't know if you got these guys this week, Brew. They're a little bigger than you. They're a little stronger than you. We might gotta put someone else in that package where you come and hit them, right? Like all this different stuff, right? He's saying this personally to me because it fits the way I like to be coached. I like someone kind of digging the skin, like Coach K for I'm not comparing myself to Kobe, but Coach K put a article that said Manu Ginobili is the best two guard in the NBA, and he put it in D-Wade's locker and he put it in Kobe's locker, right? Now that's just like a subtle jab, right? But it's not degrading a player, right? So I'll say it like this: there were also other people in the tight end room that couldn't handle that, and he wouldn't even take it there because he knew that he couldn't get the best out of the player if he took it there. So when I think about this Brian Flores situation, I just think I know this bad coaching. Why? Because you don't know your players. Tua is not a guy that needs that. I could tell you from a mile away that he doesn't need that, right? A guy who might need that is maybe a little bit more, outspoken guy. Maybe a guy like a Tom Brady almost.
Even just the quiet grinders.
Exactly. Like those type of guys like need a little edge, but especially with a quarterback, you have to be very careful how you talk to a quarterback because you get in ahead of a quarterback, especially a young one, year 1, year 2 guy that, they're already, learning how to process with this money thing, learning how to process, the NFL to college to NFL jump, learning how to process leading a team, leading an organization, being a high draft pick, all that type of stuff. So I feel like you just need to know what type of player you are coaching.
I think Flores seems like he regrets it too. Seems like he came around and realized that wasn't playing devil's advocate. That's the only thing I can really think of why he would talk to him that way is like it was for the sake of coaching, but like you said, it doesn't seem like he fully knew the guys he was talking to very well because they didn't take it the right way. And if you're the coach, I mean, that's your job. How can I get these guys fired up?
Right.
And if like clearly he didn't do very well. I don't know. It's curious. How much do you think it was true that like it was just kind of crazy how Flores was talking? Or do you think it maybe is a little bit, I don't want to call these guys soft, but it's just that we're in a different era today where the mindset of players is way different than what it used to be. And I wonder if some of these coaches struggle with that.
See, that's tough because I don't have like a real reference point to be like, this is how it was back then. But from what I've heard, I mean,
people were talking crazy back then.
But would you talk crazy to the quarterback though? Is there not a way you can talk crazy to D lineman, O lineman? I'm sorry, but y'all trenches, y'all get spit on and throw up on like y'all just different breeds, right? You know what I'm saying? You can talk a little crazier to even you have to be careful how you talk to corners. You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful how you talk to receivers as well, because it's all mental games there, right? The physical guys, the hard labor guys, you can rip them and stuff like that. Tight ends, you can rip them, yeah, all that good stuff. But like the people who like it's all a mental game, like especially like with DBs and like especially the quarterback. Man, I would love to sit in on a. Obviously, you get like clips of Bill Belichick, ripping Tom Brady, of course. But would Bill Belichick ever say to Tom Brady, "You need to pick it up. You're not a good fit for this offense"?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't. He wouldn't do that. I mean, they had that mutual respect for each other. And maybe that's the part that was missing with Flores. Is like Tua never felt the respect to begin with. So when you don't feel the respect, you immediately just go in with the insults. Then you're definitely going to just give him back the middle finger. Like, listen, you never even got to know me very well. You never gave me the respect, and now you're talking crazy to me.
And maybe that's a thing where it comes from him being a younger guy.
Yeah.
And it's hard for maybe a newer head coach to see a younger player still as a man, or not as a man, but as someone worthy of, being talked to like that. But at some point, you got to get it right. You got to get it right.
Well, that's why he's the DC and no longer the head coach.
Hey, then defensive coaches, I'll tell you what.
They're going to need him. He's going to have to do a hell of a job this year, because I don't think that Vikings offense is going to be too stellar. You like Sam Darnold at that? I mean, we're not where we want to go with this, but obviously,
you got
McCarthy
to.
Gets hurt.
You have to like him. You got to make the most of him somehow. Somehow. I mean, the JJ McCarthy news is just unfortunate. He was playing. I mean, obviously,
he looked awesome.
It was just one preseason game, but he looked good. He looked good, and it would have been interesting to see. And on the other, next segment, we'll talk about kind of the update on how these rookie quarterbacks did. Week 2 of preseason, how they throw the ball. I'll hint at Bo Nix is playing ball right now.
Yeah,
he's playing ball.
And then Steelers, an interesting one too. Justin Fields has been feisty.
Hey,
talking about that spot. I hope he gets it just because he's fun to watch.
Right.
And as a Bears fan, I feel bad because I felt like we did him dirty, and that's probably even an understatement. One from the text line here before we go to break. What was that?
No, go ahead.
So this one, are you gonna take a jab? No, let's hear it.
Justin Fields is not gonna start for the Steelers.
You don't think he's got a chance?
No.
I think I'm not saying week 1. Do you think down the line?
I mean, unless like
I don't know about like Russell Wilson was fine on the Broncos last year. I think he gets way too much baggage. He wasn't the killer of that team. In fact, he gave him a chance.
Yeah, he gave him a chance, but there's no way Justin Fields goes to Steelers and starts.
We'll see. It depends. What Mike Tomlin's an interesting coach. Like,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he figures out a way to really utilize Fields, because he's a phenomenal athlete. It's just you got to get that completion percentage up. And Russell Wilson's certainly not that mobile, not nearly as mobile as he used to be. And he's
but do the Steelers want a mobile quarterback for their system? Like they just want a guy, probably a guy who can get the ball to Pickens and their playmakers and let the defense be the defense.
Maybe Ayuk. Well, if you get Ayuk, you're definitely not starting Fields. You're probably make sure Wilson's in there.
You get Ayuk.
Because that didn't break yet, right? We're still waiting on CeeDee Lamb. We're still waiting on Brandon Ayuk. I don't think either of those guys have signed yet.
Nope. And the Ayuk situation is a whole nother thing. I mean, I thought it would have been figured out by at least last week.
Yeah, I'm starting to sweat. I got both those guys on my fantasy roster.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be fine. There's no way.
Yeah, they're not going to not play this year.
They'll be fine. It'd be crazy. I mean, if CeeDee Lamb, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to worry about that. But the text I wanted to get to, as we're talking about quarterbacks and how coaches may talk to their quarterbacks, you guys never heard how Billy Parcells treated Phil Simms.
Okay, we're gonna look it up during break.
Who texted stories? Unknown texter.
Unknown texter.
I've gotten a few of the stories from DP, but yeah, absolutely. We'll throw the break here. What's Brewing? Chancellor Brewington. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep this thing rolling. We got a couple more segments on the other side.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
This is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's a message for parents. Show your child that education is important in your home. I'm Tim Royers, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Set aside a special area where your child can work on school assignments. Encourage your child to become more responsible by setting personal educational goals. And send your child to school well-fed and rested. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child reach their full potential.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Serve Nebraska is inviting you to help thank volunteers for their service to our communities. The Step Forward Awards are Nebraska's highest awards for volunteer service, and you can show your appreciation for their hard work by attending the awards luncheon coming up on October 4th in Omaha. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. Made possible by sponsors like Omaha Public Power District. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Are you a veteran looking for a new companion animal? A dog, a cat, or maybe something else? The Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs Vets Get Pets program can cover up to $350 of your pet adoption fees. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov/vetsgetpets to learn more about program requirements and how to apply. Want to help support the program? Get your Vets Get Pets specialty license plates from the Nebraska DMV. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend. The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
September 17th, 1994 was the first what? Let me think for a second.
Game against UCLA, number 13 UCLA in town. College game day was here, but that's not what he's talking about.
I played in that game. I had a couple carries in that game. You give it to you? Please give it to me. September 17th, 1994 was the first year of the tunnel walk, and it has been going on for 3 decades later. I was there, but you don't. It was a blur. It was all a dream.
Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. Second segment. What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington? Got the former Husker, the host himself, to my left. You guys can continue to join in. Use the Starter Him text line as well as the streams: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Allo, channel 961. Chancellor Brewington, where do you want to go with it?
Yeah, so we just had a unknown texter. I appreciate y'all chiming in, but we had an unknown texter talking about Bill Parcells and how he communicated with Phil Simms, because we was just talking about Brian Flores and the comments that Tua Tagovailoa had made, saying that he made Tua feel like he wasn't able to be a good quarterback and all these different stuff. So I'm watching the video, and I guess Bill Parcells one day showed up early in the morning. Phil Simms used to always get there early, and he was sitting there with a coffee and possibly a cigar, and waited for Phil Simms to get in the building. And he asked him, "How many passes did you complete yesterday at practice?" And he didn't even let Phil Simms answer. He said, "Not a lot." But this is what Phil Simms said. Phil Simms said, now from, this is probably, practice probably starts at 8. This is probably like, 5:30. Now from 5:30, he's already, on pressed up for, tomorrow's practice and pin up and all tense. And, I don't think that's the best environment for a quarterback to execute and play at. So I guess that's my point. And staying on quarterbacks, we're talking about Russell Wilson. We're talking about Justin Fields, how, of course, you think, every Bears player is just the greatest of all time, and just, I don't know, they just run the NFL or something like that.
That's just a crazy take for a team that's been kicked to the curb year after year. And we're all, Bears Nation is too aware of how bad we've been. Like, I've certainly been having preaching. I mean, hell, the best players I got to watch were a little bit of Brian Urlacher, some Jay Cutler, Devin Hester, Brandon Marshall. I'm not screaming greatness from the rooftops. That's my point.
Hey, y'all had Lance Briggs and Brian Urlacher. You
Yeah,
said Brian Urlacher?
Okay. I didn't say Briggs, though. That's a good
Lance
one.
Briggs.
The defense has always been like pretty decent. There's always been some stuff.
Y'all had
Khalil Mack for a while too.
Julius Peppers.
Yeah, Julius Peppers
Come
was
on.
nice. Uh-huh.
Remember, my favorite back in the day was Clint Dix.
Yeah.
Woo.
He was nice. Yeah, we haven't. So I am excited for a Bears quarterback, Caleb Williams, because it'll be the first time we have one since I've been alive.
I'll tell you what, the confidence that Caleb Williams has is second to none.
It is. He doesn't get nervous, apparently.
Have you seen the Hard Knocks?
Mm-hmm. Every Tuesday, I'm dialed in.
Well, I know you've seen this then. He went to the sideline where there was I don't think it was a quarterback coach or some analyst or some coach was asking him, like, you get nervous for these type of things, like his first preseason game. And he was like, "No, I don't get nervous." He's like, "You don't get nervous?" He's like, "Yeah, I've been nervous since, my first high school football game. Like, I fumbled a snap, threw a pick or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came out and, threw 4 touchdowns or whatever." Right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
No, like that you can't teach, but that's the things you can't teach. Like people say, he didn't have a good year, at USC his last year, all this different stuff, whatever. You cannot teach what goes on upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the commonality of all great players.
He's got that.
I've been at Nebraska and I've seen, okay, I can mention 2 players, Cam Taylor-Britt and Cam Jurgens.
Of guys that just had it, like mentally?
But mentally they got it, right? But the way they went about it, completely opposite. Completely opposite. Cam is Jurg is like more of like, calm beef. Like he just gonna work out all day, what I'm saying, and not talk much, but Cam CTB, the exact opposite, right? He gonna pop it every chance he gets, super confident, I would say outspoken.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to see it on Saturdays.
Right.
It was.
Exactly. Right. But the commonality that they had was they both believed in themselves. They expressed it differently, right? But it was all mentally upstairs, and that's what you can't teach. You can't teach that, and you can't, Cam went from tight end to, I think he played like linebacker and tight end in high school, and then he went, to center, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Cam went from quarterback to corner and to college. Like, it's just, you can put him wherever, right? But they believe in themselves and they know they can do it, right? And that's what you want out of quarterbacks. And the quarterback that I believe kind of has that is Bo Nix.
Yeah, he looks really confident. He looks super confident out there. I know it's preseason. I get it. The defenses aren't super complicated. Yes, we can make the preseason comment 100 times, but he looks good.
15 for 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown.
I think he looks better than even JJ McCarthy's short debut. I think he's probably had the most complete, sound preseason game. Caleb Williams has definitely had like the exciting flash plays. There's still been some times where maybe you can argue he missed a couple throws, whether he's scrambling too much or the offensive line just needs some help. McCarthy played a solid game. Bo Nix, though, he's putting together complete games.
My apologies. That was last game. 8 for 9, 80 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, still hell of a stat.
Yeah. And obviously you still got Zach Wilson, backing him up. And you got Jarrett Stidham.
Mm-hmm. Bo Nix is named the guy, though. He will be the official starter.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy. And it's so interesting that Zach Wilson has had an interesting run.
Him and
NFL.
Sam Darnold have had very similar kind of runs. Lots of pressure, lots and lots of pressure. Maybe one good week and then just tough weeks followed in media markets that have just eaten them alive. How much of the quarterback is situation based? Like, is there any hope for Bryce Young as long as he's a Panther? I know I pick on the Panthers all the time, but my Lord, they took away everything from him.
I mean, even if you put Bryce Young, on the Broncos, like he's still gonna get some things done.
I think he looks better than what he does now.
Exactly. So I think mainly that number one pick scenario, like we talked about this the other week, this Caleb Williams situation is one of the best we've seen. Going back, maybe, looking kind of at like the Baker Mayfield situation, but even with more firepower and with a better defense and with way, way, way better receivers.
Yeah,
right?
Loaded up on the talent.
Loaded up. So, I mean, looking at the Broncos, of course, they got Cortland Sutton is interesting. I mean, obviously they got
who's all in their wide receiver room now? Because we talked about Demore and Judy's not there anymore.
Yeah, I think the guy kind of replacing would be kind of Tim Patrick. Not too star-studded. They got Lil Jordan Humphrey out of Texas. I mean, it's not too star-studded.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the way Bo Nix is playing, it's going to be interesting, and he does a lot of things on the ground. It's going to be interesting to see the things that carries over from college, because there's some type of not triple option, but read option things that carry over to the NFL. We've seen Justin Fields do it. We've seen Jalen Hurts do it. We've seen Kyler Murray do it, where there's always an option for the quarterback to keep it. Kind of some quick game stuff, especially in the red zone. Some quarterback, trap, quarterback power stuff. We see a lot of that with the Eagles. Shout out to Cam Jurgens, starting center of the Eagles now. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do things up in Denver.
The Eagles are going to be fun too.
Woo! I mean,
they just signed another defensive lineman, former Viking.
Who?
I'm blanking on his name right now. It's a $4 million deal, 2.5. Why can't I think of his name? He was played for the Vikings, defensive lineman.
Griffin?
No.
Joseph. Okay, yeah. It makes sense though, because the way the Eagles do things with that defensive front, like they try to lead the league in sacks every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's their bread and butter. Try to lead the league in sacks, get a lot of picks, of course, because you're pressuring the quarterback.
That was so disappointing. I do got to say about that Super Bowl run. That defense never showed up like it did all regular season.
Yeah.
Talking about the sacks, talking about the pressure. They couldn't get anything going. It wasn't just like in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs either. It was just the entire playoffs. It really Hurts did a phenomenal job carrying a lot of those games. The defense was fine, but as far as like when you're playing those elite quarterbacks, I was pretty surprised at their inability to get pressure.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts gonna have to do. It's gonna be an interesting year for Jalen Hurts, because obviously I would say he started off real hot last year.
Mm-hmm.
Started off real hot. First probably like 5 game 6 mark, turnover started happening.
And they lost their OC.
Not only turnovers with him, AJ Brown has some turnover troubles. Just kind of the turnover bug. But you add in Saquon, you add in, an all-pro running back at one point, right? Don't really know. We don't know how he's going to fit in. Of course,
I think it's going to fit in well. Saquon,
you could say that. Ooh. You could say that. It's just
how good that offensive line is. One thing that I talk about this all the time, but it is weird.
The O-line is crazy.
It's so good, but they are always near, like the past 3 years, they've been towards the bottom and teams with the least amount of explosive runs, despite how great that offensive line is. It makes me try to wonder, like, what is it about that run game with the Eagles that they've never been able to pop off big explosive runs? I think part of it's the style, right? They're not necessarily scheming up they're very consistent on just making sure they move the chains. But you put Saquon, I'd imagine that's going to take off. Get a more lethal run game.
Yeah, it's a bunch of read stuff. It's a lot of RPO based stuff. So you have a pass option off of a lot of their run schemes. So it's not like it's a calculated run. We're hitting this run. This is all we're doing, and we have more bodies for the run scheme, meaning the tight ends in play. The receivers are in play blocking. As you see, if you just turn on the Patriots, that's what you're going to see. The Eagles kind of have this like I said, RPO style, a lot of carryover from college. That's probably fits Jalen Hurts' game a little bit more. But the thing is, it kind of takes away sometimes from the run game. Things do hit, of course. It hits everywhere, but
that's a good way to put it, because I think you're right. I think it's just simply the play calls they got. Like, it's a lot of them. It's all on Hurts to make the decision.
Right.
I'm just like trying to identify where's the weak spot, but they're not really scheming
exactly
to running up that hole in particular.
Let's say for example, Harrison, where we got, I'm gonna talk a little football right now. Let's say we got trips, right? Let's say the tight end is detached, right?
Yeah.
So he's in the hip, right? We got trips to the right, single receiver to the left, and we have split zone on, right? But we have RPOs attached, right? So we have a bubble to the right and we have a hitch to the left, right? So our receiver is taking out that corner, right? The tight end is in the run scheme, or we could do this. The tight end is running the arrow, right? And the two receivers out there are blocking for the arrow, right? So you have the tight end is now hopefully taking away a nickel or apex defender, right? And so the nickel, hopefully the safety, right, is taking out the play in the corner, right? Left side, you got a hitch out there, right? But we still have 5 in the box, possibly 6, and we have a safety to deal with, right? We don't have no hats for those, meaning no blockers for those, right? And so I think that's a lot of time with the Eagles. You get in those situations where, yeah, they might, dink and dunk here and get a couple yards, but the true essence of, inside zone and outside zone with no RPOs attached, you got receivers going and getting safeties, MDM, all that good stuff. We don't really get that with the Eagles a lot of the times, but adding a piece like Saquon, being able to, mix in some screens to mix him in the passing game. He's a real well-versed receiver. Did that in college, did that with the Giants as well. He just hasn't had a break with these injuries because he's so daggone explosive. He is so daggone. Does the Eagles play on grass? I think they do.
Yeah, that is one of the real fields out there.
God bless. God bless. Because that brother needs some grass, because he is very, very explosive.
He's gonna be fun. I haven't really been this excited for football in a long time, which says a lot because I'm always excited for football. But man, with college football playoffs, the NFL, the Bears, and I think a lot of it too, the Chicago Bulls have been hard to watch, so my NBA fandom's died down a little bit. But that's not where we're going. Last segment, we got one more on the other side. What's brewing? Chancellor Brewington, former Husker to my left. One more segment. We'll talk to you guys in just a little bit.
You're spending $300 a month. Binge drinking is the most common form of excessive drinking, which costs the United States more than $191 billion each year. By drinking less, you will save $300 a month. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Play ball! Tired of the same old routine? Then bring your crew out to Haymarket Park for a thrilling season of Lincoln Salt Dogs baseball and unleash the fun. Enjoy action-packed home games all week long from May through August. It's the perfect change-up to the typical family night, or makes for a home run outing with friends and coworkers. Experience the magic and get in on the excitement. Visit saltdogs.com to secure your tickets now. Unleash the fun.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
Their age?
The way they speak? Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
This is where it happens. Long hikes with friends, kayaking adventures with family, more horseback riding, zipline gliding, rock face climbing, hammock camping fun than you could ever imagine. And it's all outdoors, amongst the trees and across the prairie, here beneath Nebraska skies. Plan an outing today at yournebraskaadventure.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Drinking and driving causes serious harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. In 2021, 65 people were killed in Nebraska by a car crash involving a drunk driver. Do not drink and drive. By drinking less, you can still be here for your loved ones. If you or loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend. Happy hour.
Sipple and I walked by the offensive line. Sipple made a comment. Man, you just think that like the opportunity at generational wealth would make you want to get out there. And I thought about that with a lot of these guys, whether it's mentality purposes or their willingness to get their body right, compete. Just overall,
off the field, off the court, in the classroom, it's a competition. I mean, you've heard the quote, if you're not working, there's somebody else who is working.
Weekdays from 1 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, final segment. What's Brewing? Chancellor Brewington. Got just about 5 minutes here, so we'll throw it over to the host right away. Chancellor, what do you want to wrap up?
Let's give the people what they want to hear. Of course, we'll talk a little Nebraska football coming up. Yesterday, we had Justin Adams on here talking about we talked about 0 through 9 first.
Single digits.
Talked
about the in-helmet comms.
Talked about all that good stuff. And we talked about Tommy Hill a little bit. We talked about how he was the on a mock draft list. He was the 32nd prospect on the first round draft pick. And some have him, mid to early second round, right? Is it how many players on this defense could possibly get drafted after this year? Just
Ty
defense.
Robinson, you think he gets drafted?
Possibly. Okay. I'm just saying possibly. Let's say they have a lights out year.
Okay, so let's just say Ty, certainly if he has a lights out year. Nash. You can probably Tommy Hill. I think you're safe to say Tommy Hill. Then we start already marching into just post-draft signings.
Yeah, I think Deshaun is an interesting
Deshaun Singleton, that's a good one.
Because he could emerge out the scene and it be over with. You know what I'm saying? He's already a 6'4", 215 type of guy, that bigger safety. I think Deshaun Singleton is going to be the interesting one on this defense. But also, I mean, I would say those four are probably the guys, right? And then outside of this, looking at the offense, I would say, depending on the year he has, probably Fedoni. Seeing what type of year he has, if he wants to come back after, if he goes for, 600, 700 yards this year. Probably, if he goes for 800 yards this year, he's probably gone.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for some of these older guys that I think we may be forgetting here.
I mean, if we see Javen Wright come back,
we don't know yet, right? We haven't got any news on that.
Yeah. So if we see him come back sometime this year, and last year he had 55 tackles, 2 picks, a forced fumble.
Wasn't even starting the whole year.
Wasn't even starting, right? So if we see him, come back and he puts up 70 tackles, he's probably sayonara out of there too. Possible draft choice, putting 2 back-to-back years together. I'm trying to think of who else. Obviously, you got the Reese's watch.
Jamari, you give a chance for Jamari Butler?
Interesting one.
I don't think he.
Interesting one.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, I don't really know. He has 6 sacks last year. I mean, what happens if he goes, for 7 sacks, 8 sacks this year? Puts up some crazy numbers for this defense. And the one thing I heard Jay Foreman talk about this, I think it was while we were in the Big Ten media days, is that when a team wins, right? And Coach Frost used to always talk about this, right? When a team wins, scouts are, gravitate towards that team more than a losing team.
Yeah.
Right. They want to see, okay, this was the number 2 defense. Like, okay, who all played on this defense? Right. You look at that Georgia defense. You had backup guys getting drafted.
Yeah.
On that defense.
Well, one guy I want to point out. Well, go ahead and finish your.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I want to point this because a lot of this was always hard. It's a lot on size. Because I was curious. We can talk about O'Shawn Mathis. He was, TCU dominant at TCU for 3 years. Then he comes to Nebraska. He was not drafted because of Nebraska. That was a disappointing year, and I think he probably would admit that himself. But he still gets drafted as a late. If he puts together another solid year with the Huskers, he probably moves up. But he was still round 6, and that was for the 3 years those highlights prior. But they didn't even really. They knocked him for it, but because of all what he had, size, and what he did at TCU, he was still up there.
If O'Shawn would have went out the year before, it would have been
a way better draft spot.
Completely different story.
Mm-hmm. But you could argue it's a good thing he did stay back. Because if that's what it looked like with the Huskers, I can't imagine he'd have much success in the NFL.
Right.
But yeah, I try to think, did Valentine get drafted? He declared, I think he was
Valentine.
He was our nose guard for the Huskers.
Back in the day?
No, this is pretty recent.
When?
Valentine? Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm new to this, Harrison. I'm anything before 2021. I don't know. I don't know nothing. Or 2020 my cutoff probably.
Man, you're just making me feel crazy. Vincent Valentine.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure he's a legend. I'm not familiar.
Trying to remember.
Vincent Valentine.
Yeah, I'd have to figure out. But there's always those guys that I wonder if they should come back or not. Because it's going to hurt their draft pick. But what I want to bring about O'Shawn Mathis, a lot of it too is even if these guys don't have stellar years, there's a chance they still get drafted. But when you're talking about a guy like Ty Robinson, I think he does have to put together another solid year. Because freshman year, he was great. I think people were really impressed. He kind of got shoved in there early and he held up, and we're expecting the continued development, and it just never really continued at a steady rate. He's been a solid player, a good starter, but I think he has to put together a dominant season if he wants to be drafted.
I think the biggest part of that people don't see is that when you have a surgery after season, you never get a full off season. And this is one of the first times that Ty is getting a full off season where he's get to work on his body. He doesn't have to rehab something. He doesn't get his body realignment. He has to get cleared from surgery and all this stuff, right? So definitely that's a huge piece right there. Getting a full off season, being able to develop yourself in the off season, get ready during spring, get ready during summer, fall camp, and then hit the ground rolling. And it's going to be, I'm excited to see the way Todd plays. He's probably top three people I'm most excited to see. The other two are probably interesting to most people. 2 is Marquise Buford at corner. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year.
I think I'm right there with you. I'm with our corners and then probably Nash.
Yeah.
Give me Tommy as well.
I'll probably go
offense. I just don't. I'm scared to pick someone on offense.
Yeah.
Obviously Dylan.
I'll throw a curveball. I want to see. I got Ramir Johnson housing 2 kicks this year.
Who do you? I mean, as we wrap things up, this running back room, we still don't really know who do you think is going to be that guy? Gabe Ervin, Ramir Johnson, Dante Dowdle.
I forgot about Gabe.
Gabe's there, big guy. I don't know if we're gonna, 2-back system where I think Gabe Ervin can be kind of like what Gus Edwards was for the Baltimore Ravens. Like when we get to the red zone.
Gus Edwards, wow.
Yeah, you know
wow,
what's coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I like that. I think the way Gabe runs is super downhill. He's not gonna make a lot of cuts before. Emmett's the different type of body, but it's funny. Ramir can do what Gabe does, and he can do what Emmett does.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those three right there are going to be amazing. And then maybe, seal some games off with Gabe and Dante and things like that. But I think for the 3-back system, it's going to be probably Emmett starting off, Gabe in these third and, short situations, and probably closing a lot of games out with Ramir.
Good problem to have.
Woo!
When you got that many running
Great
backs,
problem to have.
you're confident. Because, like, the fact that we can even consider is like Dante, 4-star, transfer out of Oregon. We're getting, maybe third string. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he starts. I don't know.
We really don't know. But it tells me there's at least competition. So I think, say, Dante does get named the starter, he's looking behind his back, which I think could be a good thing.
Right.
Like, you want those guys to continue to develop. But that's going to wrap it up for us. Brewington, final thoughts.
Hey, y'all have a blessed weekend. We'll be back on Monday, 9 p.m. And we got Connor from Corn Craze coming on Monday. It's going to be an exciting stream.
Absolutely. Next week, Monday, 8 o'clock as always. We'll talk to you then.